What's up, my reloading brothers and sisters and friends? It has been a while, but I am back at it, doing some reloading. Of course, you can hear the ultrasonic cleaner going in the background. I use it after I do resizing so I can get all the lanolin off of the cases. I got 50 pieces of brass that I prepped once already, and I am going to load these guys up. So let's get to it. Alright, so hopefully the noise from the ultrasonic cleaner isn't that bad. I'm going to start priming this brass. I have to admit that I have not had much luck with this guy. This will be the second time I try to use it, and for some reason I have a tough time keeping the latch in there, and this little ball, or whatever you want to call it, for the lever, and it seems to pop out pretty easily, especially when you're trying to prime. So I'm going to give it a shot and we'll see how it goes. There we go. They slid down. And of course the first one goes in sideways, so I can't use it. I have to unload them all. Turn it back to lock, not open. Take this off and figure out how I'm going to get that primer out of there. There we go. So it came out easy, which I guess is a good thing. So I wonder if I can just put it right back in the top. And no. So it's going to go sideways. So here we go. I'm going to open this up. Put the primer back in. And try again. I think what I will do is get a Lee Safety Prime that I can put on my breech lock press, because this hand method's just not working well. And of course I have my Lee Loadmaster, but I have not loaded enough ammunition to where I feel it would be a good idea for me to use the Loadmaster yet. I do intend to use it, but I want to get to the point where I'm comfortable with my reloads, and that I know for a fact my reloads are working. And again, another primer went in sideways, and this one's going in sideways. That one went incorrect. So I'm going to prime my first piece of brass. When it does work, it works extremely well. But again, I worry that I'm gonna do something really stupid or mess something up pretty bad with this thing. And of course the fact that, you know, I reload for my family to be able to shoot. The last thing I want is anything happening. So I guess what I'll do is just get in the habit of checking to make sure that the primer's seated or in there right, so I don't see a primer upside down. I do like the fact that you can feel when the primer seats properly. I don't know, maybe you guys can tell me, but this one seems to have went a little further in than flush. I would imagine that it'll still fire correctly, because whenever you load around into your AR-15, we all know it puts that little dimple on the primer. And that's one of the reasons why they recommend using CCI number 41s, which I don't have, and Academy seems to never have, and Cabela's has it, hit or miss. And I don't live close enough to Cabela's to warrant driving there all the time to check and see if they have primers. So. Oh, I'm gonna get these guys primed, and then I'll be back in a little bit. Alright, so the items that were in the ultrasonic cleaner were the rounds that I shot in that video, which were my first reloads, along with the 5.56 ammo that I had left over. The ammo shot really well. I don't exactly remember what the load was that I used, but I do know it was the lowest one in the Hornady manual. And when I resized that, when I resized that brass, I did use the RCBS small base die, because there are 2 ARs in this household. Mine, which has a 1-in-7 twist, and the one that I built for my son when he turns 18, that will be his, is a 1-in-8 twist. So the projectiles that I have by Hornady that I'm going to use are these guys in this tray, which one is the Hornady Match 75 grain boat tail hollow point, and the other 25 will be the 73 grain ELD match. So I'm actually looking forward to loading these rounds, because what I plan to do is load 10 rounds at different weights as far as the loads go, and I am going to shoot 5 out of each gun and try and see which particular load the 2 rifles like. And the reason why I want to do that is that way, once I find that load, I can use my Loadmaster progressive press and kick out a bunch of those rounds, because I'm not really interested in doing a whole bunch of different testing with different weights and all this other, you know, all the stuff that you can really go down the rabbit hole with when it comes to reloading. Not that I don't want to, it's just right now what's practical and feasible for me is to find the rounds that these two particular rifles like and stick with those. So at some time I'm sure I'll get interested in doing a bunch of ladder testing and trying out different loads, especially if I get the opportunity to do some hunting. To me that would make sense to want to do that. And the rifle that I would probably do that with is my wife's 300 Blackout. So I want to thank the Coach Brothers, Walter, for sending me a bunch of 300 Blackout projectiles. The only thing is I believe Walter shoots his out of a bolt gun, and of course mine's an AR-15. So the issue there is that I have to size the projectiles that he sent me because of course they're cast, which I am totally okay with that. At some time I do see myself getting into casting. It's just not something I can do right now. That will be something I plan to do eventually. And Mr. Kyle Lusk, awesome guy, sent me some of the he called Elvis ammo missiles, the 200 grain casted for 300 Blackout. Now I don't have a suppressor, which, you know, of course subsonics run a little better in a suppressed rifle, but my wife's rifle is a 16-inch barrel with a pistol gassing system, so that should help out as far as cycling. Like, I shouldn't have any cycling issues with that. I will have to get another powder in order to load those, because the powder that I have is H110, which I'm being told is basically like a Magnum pistol, and that's not what you want to use to load those heavier rounds. So as you can see, this is actually going pretty quick. I'm surprised, because the first time I tried to use it, it was a nightmare. Like, every time I would try and squeeze the handle, the little piece would come out that I showed you earlier, which is like the knuckle, I guess. But, you know, it's in between the lever and the actual action for the priming system. But this seems to be going pretty quick. Don't want to jinx it, but so far so good. Those two primers that came out sideways, I'm just going to put those on the press, which is over here, and that's what I'm going to use to prime the last two cases. So instead of trying to fight with this thing, just to prime two cases. So I'm going to finish up the primer, and then after that we're going to look and see what powder load we're going to use. And of course I'll be using 8208 XBR, so that's the only powder I actually have to load my 5.56 with. Catch you guys in a little bit.